Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn at pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hello, 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 and a good morning at you. It's the 24th of July, which means that in about a week, my sister, my little kid sister, is going to have another birthday. So let's welcome Susan. Yeah, I hear you groaning on the other end. It's awful, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, and it's a birthday like it's like, meh.
Yeah, it's just a crummy birthday.
Yeah, it doesn't even, the numbers don't.
It doesn't signify
anything.
Just a stupid number, right?
Yeah, except that you're...
I've just been telling people I'm 70, so they tell me how good I look.
No, that's good.
When I get there, I'll be used to it.
Yeah, you're getting pretty far ahead of yourself there, Suze. But
well, not very.
No,
the
but
number for those that are vaguely curious will be 67.
Yeah. God almighty. How's that happen?
I don't know. But I mean, you know, I was with one of my Green Bay friends the other day, and she's having her second hip replacement. So, I mean, I guess that's where we are.
You're kidding. My God. Well, how awful. That's got to be genetic or something. I mean, she's in good shape.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, I'm not going to give her a medical backstory, but it was induced by treatments for other things.
Oh.
So
it's a medically this is what, doctors doing things to her that resulted later in her having...
It was a byproduct of a cancer treatment that her bones got.
Oh God. So. Oh God.
But she'll be back to normal. She's excited.
Okay, I'm looking for something here. I just want to our nephew, who's an archivist, is always trolling around looking for old bits, and he'd sent me this before, but I just love this, and he sent it again, and I want to share it. Okay, this is from the Green Bay newspaper, Green Bay Press Gazette. This would be probably 1957. Yeah. 1957, Green Bay Press Gazette. Puppet show to aid Red Cross. That's the headline. 3 Green Bay girls, 2 in 4th grade and 1 in 2nd grade, have presented the Brown County chapter of the American Red Cross with $9.21, which they earned by staging a puppet show. The girls, Robin and Mady Deutsch, and Ida Lynn Miller, held the show in the den of the R.K. Deutsch home. Robin and Ida produced the show based on a storybook tale, which they revised to meet their needs, while Mady, the 2nd grader, sold cookies. Relegating me. Mady, you go over there and sell. Mady sold and it's called cold drinks and cook candy in the audience of children and parents from the neighborhood. There you have it, Susan. That made the paper. Now, how the hell did that get...
My feelings are hurt. Why didn't I get to help sell cookies? I would have been in 1st grade.
Well, look, I mean, there was no other jobs left, apparently, at that point. Ticket taker? You probably were...
I think I remember that. I think I actually
remember that. Come on. I don't. That's what I was sent the article, and the question was, do you remember this? I said, God, no. I have no recollection. What? So $9.21. What I want to know is, how'd you get the 1 cent thing? Like, what would the pricing have been?
Who knows? Somebody just emptied out their pockets. But that's a lot of money for 1957, by the way.
Well, I don't know about that. God only knows what those poor people in the audience suffered through.
TV wasn't, in its heyday in 1950.
No.
So this is what people did.
Yeah, right. I'm just going to ask Amy, can I have my headset up a little? I'm losing my hearing, I think. Is everybody else hearing Susan okay? I can't hear anything anymore. Okay, well, I just started, I just wanted to share that because there's something so funny about it.
It's cute. Well, I mean, the pictures that he sends, I mean, and the articles that he sends are all things like that. Usually, 50 articles in a row, all featuring our beautiful mother for no good reason, stuck in the middle of otherwise homely individuals.
At some luncheon. Yes,
right,
and the names are always given.
Norman Miller,
Mrs. Norman Miller and Mrs. and they're all, none of them have names of their own. They're just appendages of their husbands.
Right, Mrs.
Yes.
Norman Miller.
Mrs. Norman Miller pouring coffee for Mrs. Blah, blah, blah at a luncheon.
But even Mom began to notice that she was the best-looking person in all of the pictures.
Oh, my God. But that brings us to a sad story, which is the death of newspapers, right?
Yeah.
They are dying, and if you have any doubt, you can look here. The latest, my God, the Daily News in New York City laying off half of its staff yesterday. This is after the staff had already been gutted. And the Daily News was the counterpart to Rupert Murdoch's New York Post, both tabloids, easily read on a crowded bus or subway. And they say, what I don't understand is the owners, some large, faceless friggin' group of capitalist SOBs in Chicago, have said that they need to move the paper into, digital direction. But what I want to know is, okay, so if you're simply stopping the print and moving to digital, why does that?
You still need the reporters.
Yeah,
right.
So it's bull. They're lying. They're laying off reporters and photographers, and digital. People are still going to want news.
No, they did. And then you're going to get your the same generic news that everybody else is getting, and because nobody is producing original content. I don't understand why they think that people will go to look at non-existent content and only get their advertisers. I mean, at some point you'll stop going to the site because it is not delivering you any content. You're only being delivered to advertisers, and why would you go?
Right.
I don't understand the business plan. We're going to buy a product. We're going to get rid of the product and see how that flies.
Susan, here's what the business plan is. Make as much money as we can, right? And then dump that and move on to another paper to cannibalize Savage and move on.
It's what I call the icon school of economics. Carl Icahn, remember
right,
him?
I
he was
sure
the
do.
guy that bought TWA and cannibalized, this.
He's still around.
Once great. Yeah, I know, but that's what they do. They cannibalize companies,
right?
And overload them with debt, and then toss them out.
That's what Remember Romney, because his Bain Capital
Right, that's what they did.
That's what they did. And that's what a lot of these rich people, it's how they get rich, not by producing anything, but merely destroying things.
They wring the last dollar out of failing companies and then leave, the ex-workers without pensions, with unfulfilled, promises that were given to workers in concession for lower wages in previous years, and then they go, oops, well, there's no money for that stuff that we promised you. Bye. I was, before we got together on the telephone this morning, I was scanning news channels, and they were talking about why companies like Amazon, that makes a gazillion dollars, why their workers in the fulfillment centers are mostly on food stamps because they aren't paid a working wage, a minimum wage.
Yeah, but the guy who owns Amazon is now the richest person in the world.
Now the richest person, and is only beholden to his stockholders who have no ethical.
So what do we do with these son of a bitch capitalists? What do we do? Off with their heads. I'm sorry. They are literally, this is, pillaging.
My son just texted me to say that Icon was sniffing around his company
oh my gosh.
a few years ago, and their board of directors stopped him.
Wow.
Well,
but your son has seen his company bought and, moved.
Yeah, it got bought anyway, but it wasn't bought to be gutted. It
was
bought to
because it was valuable.
System.
Right. But still, any worker now is just one step away from the unemployment line if some, money-crazed, greedy son of a bitch capitalist decides to... decides to...
Well, and the worrisome thing about corporations is that long years of service and experience start to work against you at a certain point.
That is correct.
And then no one wants to look at you because they'd rather have the younger, latest trained version.
Not only latest trained, but cheaper.
Much less money.
Cheaper. And also older workers, their insurance costs more. And I remember even when I was working in TV, so this is, 25 years ago, I remember saying to a few other employees there who were getting long in the tooth, and for television that means heading into 40, keep your head down. I said, just keep your head down. Because you're now rising up that seniority, ladder, and you're making more money, and you are ripe for the picking, just to be gotten rid of and bring in somebody who they can pay half of what they're paying you. And that's what they did.
Right. And if the public really loves you, too bad. They'll be disappointed, and then they'll get over
exactly.
it. Exactly.
I remember the general manager there at the time, one despicable human being named Jim Hefner, saying to me, I want, he spoke in a southern accent, he says, I want reporters to be interchangeable cogs. And he wanted them to be interchangeable cogs because you don't have to pay a cog as much as you pay a personality. He was saying that to me because he perceived me
as a cog.
As being a personality, and
you're a personality.
He wanted me gone because personalities make more money, and they're not interchangeable. And he actively worked to get me to leave. He removed me from the seat. He tried to lower my profile. He was constantly undercutting me. And then, I thought, you know what? F this. I'm doing a 3-hour radio show a day, too. I enjoy that. I'm not enjoying this anymore, so that's when I left TV.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately,
there were a lot of reasons that made that decision make sense.
Right, and the only thing that was, that made it bittersweet for me was that my leaving made him happy. Because
right, he got
could,
what he wanted.
Yeah, he could get another cog. So it's, oh God, I hate these people.
Yeah, but look, you've also been on the airwaves for years now, telling everybody who would listen what a total, piece of poop he is.
That's true. I don't know that I've ever said his name before. I don't even know where the son of a bitch is, but I hate him. I do. I saw the way he treated other people there. He was an awful, awful man. Actually, he came from the other TV station in town, one of the others, KDKA. And when he was hired, I called my agent at the time and said, "Do you know anything about this guy?" And she said, "Oh, my God, that snake in the grass." That's what she called him. That snake in the grass. So I was forewarned. Anyway, all of this talk about capitalism and these pillagers that now pass for job creators in this country. Isn't that funny? We think of these people as job creators.
Right, and what they really are is keep the workers down creators.
That is right. And you will notice, by the way, that now that the economy is going bonkers and the unemployment rate has never been lower, wages, ladies and gentlemen, wages?
Well, for certain sectors, they're going up.
Not.
But for others, they're going down.
They're going down. And where most people live, they're going down.
Well, that's right. I'm just saying the upper echelons of the white-collar group and technology are going up.
That's right.
And everybody else is
and
going
so
down.
You continue to let the people who have pull away from the people who don't, who are clawing, trying to get a foothold. And let us be clear. I just want to be so clear. The people I'm talking about who are getting shafted left and right in our economy are often people with incredible education, incredible talent, incredible work ethics, and there's no place for them to go. I see it over and over and over again. Where they go into the gig economy. They do a little of this, they do a little of that. They're operating three jobs, none of which give them benefits, health insurance, anything. This is America. And it's awful.
Well, not to mention the fact that even if you are lucky enough to have a job, we have quietly transitioned from an economy where one parent could be the breadwinner and the other could be the child rearer,
right.
And you could live a good life. That doesn't exist anymore.
No.
For the vast majority of American families, it is a requirement that both parents work in order to keep a roof over their heads and food on the table and insurance. And it's not optional. And we've transitioned thusly without any of the appropriate help that exists in other countries that have that kind of economy, i.e., child care. Even though we require this, if your children are not of school age yet, one of those salaries is going to 2/3 go to providing for the child care that allows person to bring in the 1/3.
That's right. What a wonderful plan. What a great and understand that we're one of the few so-called developed countries in which this is the template.
An issue. And let me point out that it's when we talk about women, having to work to April to equal what a man makes in a year, we aren't subtracting this kind of a tax, because generally it is the woman's salary that is basically paying for the child care,
right.
And she ends up working for a net of a couple bucks an hour.
Right. Unbelievable. So anyway, I bring all this up because I had read a piece written by a woman in Wichita, Kansas, the the heart of the heartland, and she wanted to explain so-called Trump country, and understand this is a woman who is the author of a book called Heartland, a memoir of working hard and being broke in the richest country on earth. Okay? And a million other people could have written that book, except maybe they don't have her writing skills. And she wants to point out that this is something that those of us in the anti-Trump camp have to keep in our heads, despite the fact that media are trying to, make us believe in some cartoonish picture of America. And she points out that her father, who is a lifelong construction worker, and he goes all over the Midwest putting up buildings. He works next to Filipinos and other immigrants, and he's white, and he in no way holds like racist feelings toward them or feel like they're taking his job. And she says his anger, and he is angry. He is an angry white Midwestern blue-collar worker. And his anger, she says, is directed at bosses who exploit labor and governments that punish working poor. And he sees it as two sides of a capitalist system that is bleeding people like him dry. And she quotes her father as saying, corporations, that's it. That's the point of the sword that's killing us. And she wants to point out that there are millions of men like her father who get tarred because of their jobs, their location as Trump voters, and their anger at their situation as Trump voters when they're not. And we've got to keep that in mind.
Well, anytime that you say a whole group of people vote one way, you're lying.
Exactly. And we got to stop
Jews don't vote one way.
No.
Women don't vote one way.
Right.
Black people don't vote one way.
Close.
Hispanics don't vote one way.
Yeah.
People are people.
And she points out, and I think, again, I just want us to take this in and try to remember it, because we don't. The greatest con of 2016 was not persuading a white working class person to vote for a nasty billionaire. Rather, the greatest con of 2016 was persuading the media to cast every working class American in the same mold. And that's what our lazy media do, and they keep doing it. If I see the New York Times have one more story about Trump voters, they did it again today. Front page story from, I think, Columbus, Ohio, about a plant there, Susan, that is being really hurt by Trump's tariffs. They quote one of the executives who says, "It's hurting us now, but we got to keep our eye on the bigger picture. And we're willing to take this hit because he's doing what needs to be done. We've been taken advantage of." And then they quote the people on his work floor, on the production line, who are parroting that same thing. Yeah, it's hurting us, but we got to. And I'm so sick of having to listen to this. And they don't find anybody, they never quote anybody like this woman's father, who measure in the millions and millions. It drives me crazy. And she says doing this elevates a white supremacist agenda by undermining solidarity. In fact, solidarity where it is most brave. It is easier to be resistant to, it's less easy to be resistant to Trump when you're a construction worker in Wichita, Kansas. Those are the guys we should be not only embracing, but getting to run for office as Democrats. Oh, I'm just saying. So, Susan.
We're too busy, trying to fend off right to work.
Well, you listen, here's the thing. We've got to stop being so busy. And yesterday, I turned on for a minute CNN because I just wanted to check. I thought they're going to be 24/7 on Trump's latest outrage, which was at that moment, because they come 2 or 3 a day, at that moment was his threat to take security clearances away from all the former intelligence officials. Right?
Because as what's-her-name says, some of them are even monetizing their political... How can she say this shit with a straight face?
I don't know. She
right
really
down the
is
street
something.
from Trump Hotel.
Yeah, she's really something. Anyway, and I have not mentioned that, nor am I going to. No, I mean, I mentioned it in passing. We're not going to talk about that because this is what he does. He keeps us jumping from one thing to the other. So you don't have time to sort of stay, focus, and pay attention to big stuff. I mean, his outrage du jour is just that, and they will keep on coming. And at one point when I tuned in, they had a panel of people decrying this and, the outrage and blah, 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 blah. And then one person on the panel said, don't you see, this is exactly what he wants. We're not talking about Russian collusion. We're not talking about the stuff we need. He keeps pulling us away from those important issues. And she said it, and everybody nodded, and then went right back to doing
exactly that.
Right. Well, why, if you recognize that you're being manipulated,
you continue to be manipulated?
Why? I, for one, am not. I'm really fighting mightily not. Now, granted, this is all of 2 days running, but I'm not. And how dare they? They just don't serve us well. Somebody who is desirous of knowing what's going on does not need to hear 1 hour on one subject that will change tomorrow, and none of it matters.
Across 85 different networks, by the way.
Yeah,
all
doing the same thing.
MSNBC this morning, when I checked in for a second, that's all they were going to be talking about, too, so I turned it off.
Okay, so here's what I want to say. Can I remind people that there are still, I think, close to 2,000 children who are separated from their parents?
And that
and we've moved on,
this
right?
Morning show that 365 parents have been deported. and therefore their children are going to be just declared forfeit.
We threw their parents out, so now we can't. It is beyond. It is okay. This.
So now they're in our foster care system, which really needs them.
This is a story worth constant attention. And I want to...
I mean, we are talking about, honest to God, human trafficking on a governmental level. That's what they did. They
kidnapping.
And now they're going to hand them out to people here that might want a kid.
I want to ask
some people here that might want a kid.
Anybody who is a parent, just try to imagine your child being snatched from you. You sent this way, they sent, and even after the people of that country that took your child are aware of it, you still can't get to your child. You still can't. And one other thing, I do not want to see these videos of reunions when a distraught child and a distraught parent are finally reunited at some airport somewhere. I do not want them to be further subjected to outrageous exploitation in such a private and painful moment. Haven't we done enough to these kids? Haven't we done enough to these people? And we follow them with cameras. They're surrounded by cameras. And I saw, I feel like I'm looking at pornography.
Don't you feel that way with these endless stories of soldiers coming home and surprising their kids? And we all go and we all have a good cry as the child breaks into helpless, tears because they've been so totally worried about their parent and whether they'd ever see him again, and now they get to see him, but it's for our pleasure?
It's for our emotional pleasure. It is emotional pornography. And
I feel that way about all this stuff. This isn't good news. This isn't anything. If you want to do it to show, the havoc that we wreak on our families, okay, you can do that. But that should be the moral of the story. It shouldn't be, as you say, pornography.
Leave them alone. Leave them alone.
And by the way, it's child pornography.
That is. It's child porn. It's disgusting. Anyway, we have a caller. Caller, go ahead, please.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello, Lynn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what I was going to say is all this stuff that's going on with immigration and whatever, like the Supreme Court justice possibly going to add another one to their side. I think, and it's happened in the past, history has a way of correcting things, maybe, or not correcting. The course of history changes for the good or the bad. I think we're to the point when we get to this Supreme Justice and they start fooling around with abortion and this immigration, I think eventually someone's, and I hate to even bring this up, I think someone's going to get shot. I really do think it's going to get to that boiling point if it's not already there.
Well, God forbid. I mean, someone's getting shot right now. This is America, after all. Probably 4 people now are being shot. You're talking about assassination?
I realize that, but I'm
talking about assassination.
Okay, that would be a very bad idea, obviously.
Right.
Let's hope it doesn't happen.
Good or bad. Bad. It's bad for me, I'm saying. But I just think people aren't going to take it. And it's going to get to the boiling point where something's going to happen. It's sad to say, but because they're so damn corrupt in our government with Trump in there, and it just...
Well...
I don't know. I just feel something's going to happen.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, it's terrible to say something like that.
Yeah, I know.
But,
okay, stop saying it then. Goodbye.
Okay.
All
right, we'll see you.
Bye. I was thinking, no, they're probably safe just because our side doesn't have the guns.
Our side doesn't do things like that.
Well, but all it takes is one. Yeah, one. And so.
Well, let's not talk.
No,
about
I don't
it,
want to.
I could see someone that was thinking they were saving the world. You know?
Sure. Well, I just want to say that the Wall Street Journal had this piece about the judge that is overseeing this reunification, this Dana Sabrow. And this is because of the suit brought by the ACLU to get these.
Right.
And he's been pretty good. I wish he'd be a little tougher on the government, like holding them in contempt, because he put a July 26th end date, on when all of the children, not just the little ones, were to be reunited. And we're not even close to that. And that's 2 days away. And I'm hoping he starts throwing, holding the head of DHS and HHS in contempt. They're under a court order to do something. They don't deliver. Then put him in jail. Throw the book at him.
Right. What's the
why
consequence?
won't he?
It's not a suggestion.
No, it was an order from a federal court. By the way, this guy is a Republican. He is also the son of an immigrant, of a Japanese mother, actually two immigrants, of a Japanese mother and a French-Canadian father who ended up leaving San Francisco because they couldn't find a place to live in the 50s because they were a mixed-race couple. So this is a judge who comes, even though he's a Republican, he comes from immigrant roots himself, so should be, and have seen with his own parents how immigrants were ill-treated. I just wish, everybody says he's a real kind person. I wish he'd toughen up, is all I'm saying.
No, I agree. I don't. If the example that the American public gets is that their government doesn't actually have to obey court orders,
right?
I ask you, why should any of us obey a court order?
Right. Exactly. What is the...
And my defense would be, well, look, the government was told to do something, they didn't do it, and nothing happened to them.
Yep. So, hey. All right, Susan. Let's do some medical information. Right now, I know I look like I'm sitting here just talking, but I want you to know that I am engaged in what is called dynamic sitting.
You mean you're wiggling in your seat?
Yeah, I'm like, my legs are going like this.
I can't stop my leg.
I can't stop the leg. You know, there's some guys, I see it in guys, not women, who literally always have a leg going like that, and it makes me a wreck.
I think it is more common in
men
but women have been taught to sit still.
But I'm telling you, ladies, don't sit still, because it says right here that by doing this dynamic sitting, you can burn about 20% more calories over the course of a workday. Okay? So fidgeting is okay. It does a lot of good stuff for you. It burns calories, it lowers your blood pressure, this and that. So dynamic sitting. I can't stand it when
I think there's other good reasons to fidget and be a dynamic sitter, and that's that it's better for your back. If you are constantly rearranging your position and not maintaining any one position for more than 15 minutes, it's easier on your spine.
Right. So let's just keep moving, guys. I really get annoyed, though, when I'm sitting next to a guy who's doing that, because all it does is suggest to me that they're ready to jump out of their skin. And you know how it's... And it makes me nervous. I mean, and often a guy who's doing that also has like a clenched jaw, and you can see like veins in his,
Or they're holding a pen and clicking the top up and down 85 times.
Jeez,
that's another one. My beloved husband used to do that, and I would go, "Stop with the pen."
Oh, God. Yeah, it's like chalk on a blackboard.
And I do think that my years of sitting through the most long and boring of school board meetings that could go on for 5 or 6 hours taught me this art of sitting, seemingly quietly with an interested expression on my face.
While your feet are doing
that
stuff.
had nothing to do with my internal struggle.
Right, exactly.
And once I learned to only wear turtlenecks so that people couldn't see the blood going up my neck.
We've got another.
They really did.
Wait,
they could tell when they were getting to me, even if I was keeping my face carefully impassive, because they could see my chest and my neck get red if I was irritated. So I just started wearing turtlenecks. No cues.
Okay. Ray has sent us a missive. Ladies, Ray says, I despair of a good outcome. Yeah, well,
no.
You're not alone, Ray. Well, it's pretty self-evident that poverty itself does not create revolution and anarchy. I mean, if it did, most of the world would be in constant turmoil. However, it's pretty clear that relative poverty certainly does. It's hard to accept poverty when faced with the few others around us with obscene wealth. I have come to terms with the concept of capitalism in the abstract. It was hard for me to do. Much of the regulated capitalism over the last 50 years has helped create some of the most miraculous improvements in our world. Diseases have been eradicated, child mortality has dropped, absolute poverty has declined, and water and power has reached almost every corner of the world, to name just a few. What gives me despair is the clear gaming of the system by very, very smart but very, very evil plutocrats who can't stand not having all the toys. If we moderate lefties don't rein in the crazy factions on our side and restart the long, hard process of democratic reform of the power structure, then undemocratic revolution will sort it out in a very bad way. What amazes me is the mega wealthy have much more to lose in a meltdown than an overworked, underpaid, poor city dweller.
Right. I mean, what part about the French Revolution don't they get?
Well, I remember reading a few years ago that some guy, some Silicon Valley gazillionaire, was trying to warn the other Silicon Valley gazillionaires exactly that. Hey guys. And all it did was make them build higher gates around their homes and hire more security and get an island somewhere where they could helicopter out if the mobs start closing in. So they don't intend.
And build safe rooms.
Yeah. Yeah, really. They don't intend to stop. I mean, it's like a Batman movie
I just don't
without
understand.
Batman. I mean, we're Spider-Man. We're doomed because the Joker's.
Why doesn't Bezos want his fulfillment center employees
to be able to buy?
Wage?
Yeah, Henry Ford, the son of a bitch. Henry Ford understood.
He knew that he wanted his workers to be able to afford his cars.
Not anymore. So I just, I don't know. We have another caller. Caller, go ahead, please.
Hello, Clarence.
Clarence.
Hey, Clarence.
The name of I can't remember the name of the guy who wrote that article about the
warning them.
Warning them.
Yeah.
But it was called the Pitchforks. The article was called "The Pitchforks Are Coming."
Yeah.
I do remember that.
Right.
Yeah. And I think he had something. Yeah, he made his money. It was either with Yahoo or Amazon or somebody like that. That's where he started. But I was calling about dynamic sitting, and then you talked about all of that. The capitalism thing about buying people being able to buy the products that they make.
Yeah.
When you said Henry Ford. And I always thought that what changed that mostly was globalism. There were enough people on the planet to keep you rich. You know what I mean? There's enough middle management people making money.
Yeah.
All over the globe to buy your stuff, so you don't really need to pay all your workers
Yeah.
You know, like in a certain country, a certain amount of money. That's what did it. So it's not just a thing we have to do in America. It's like a global thing. You have to get almost everybody to start paying workers a living wage. Or, you know, my feeling is that what do they call that, where governments just give you a living wage for no reason?
It's called what? Jeez, I forget.
It's like a guaranteed income.
Yeah,
something
I think that's it.
Right.
No,
it's a guaranteed minimum income.
Yeah, minimum income. Right.
Yeah, and I see no way around that with automation and.
Right.
You know, I actually, you know, or just what is it? There's going to be like a two-tiered system, and no products are going to be made because people are going to be able to, you know, the robots can make the products, but who's going to buy the products?
You tell
robots
me.
are doing services now. You know, they're doing surgery by joystick.
Yeah. Oh, I know
they are doing surgery by joystick.
Right.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah. Why can't you just have a robot do it? You know what I mean? A program, an app. Do you really need a doctor? The lawyer by computer. Do you really need a lawyer when an algorithm could do it for you?
Do you really need a factory if you have a 3D printer?
Yeah. So yeah, I see. You know, I don't see it coming. You know, in my lifetime, but it's coming.
Oh, it's right around the corner.
Why do you think it's not going to happen in your lifetime, Clarence?
Because
look at what's already happened in your lifetime.
Because he smokes.
Yeah, I always tell people that iPhone was something when I was a teenager I couldn't imagine. That was Star Trek. I didn't think that was going to come.
No.
Yeah.
And when I was a child, Get Smart had what's his name talking into his shoe. And that's exactly right.
Yeah. I had a joke about that. I can't remember that shoe phone. I had to talk about that. A good joke, and I can't remember what it was.
Well, too bad for you. So what did you want to say about dynamic sitting?
Oh, when you said it, my uncle used to, like, and he probably still does, you know, move his leg up and down, at least one knee, up and down really fast.
Right.
Like he was starting a motorcycle or something.
That's it.
But, but my brain went to, and I don't know if I'm right about this, and it's not in like public settings, but women tend to, if they're going to move their legs, they're like going
their
back
foot.
and forth. Their knees are like, no, it's not their foot, it's their knees. Their feet are still, and their knees are going back and forth. So I don't know if that's my imagination, but I said but I've noticed it before, you know, because I see the leg, I see the leg thing going up and down with the men, like they're trying to start a motorcycle, and I think it's more of a nervous thing for both groups.
Well, it diminishes nervous energy, but I think for women the motion is usually a crossed leg, and the leg that is crossed goes back
moving.
And forth.
Yeah, the leg that's crossed.
Foot, that dangling foot is going up.
That's
and down.
right. That's what I was saying. Right.
That's what we're talking about. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
But the upper body stays still. Right. It's
Stay still. From the waist up, you are composed.
All righty.
But you know what? This is one of those things when I heard the term dynamic sitting, I said, oh, no, not this. It's one of those things that, you know, it's going to sell a book, you know, for a year, and then they're going to move on to something else. Although it makes sense to me.
Well, you know, Clarence,
huh?
Clarence, they have these things. I've seen them in catalogs where, like, bicycle pedals, which you put under your desk, and while you're sitting, you can be pedaling.
See, I wouldn't mind doing that as long as that was charging a battery or something.
Well, that makes more. You know what? That makes more sense.
As long as it was running your computer.
Yeah, that's a great idea, though.
Exactly. Because I never understood spinning. I said, or you know, walking on a treadmill. I said, go ride a bike, or you know, go for a walk. If you're going to just stand there and stare out of a window so everybody else can see you on a treadmill, generate some energy with it. You know, those big things. You know, those big group workout places. If I was them, I would hook those things up to batteries. Those people would be generating.
That's true. They should. They should.
Clarence, what we call those big workout places, we call them gyms.
Yeah.
Yeah, those big workout places.
Term?
Those are
gyms.
No,
we call them gyms too, but no, they're not called gyms anymore. As a matter of fact, the higher class ones, they call them James.
What? Hey, listen, you two. Milton in Columbus is always on. He's told us who the plutocrat was, who Clarence and I are remembering. His name is Nick Hanauer, Hanauer. And his piece was called "Beware, Fellow Plutocrats, the Pitchforks Are Coming." And there's the original article was in Politico, and he also did a TED Talk, so you could see it on a TED Talk. But I mean, whatever. It didn't.
Well, I think we should give a toast to Milton.
Okay, let's toast Milton.
Oh, there's
Nick,
Milton
what? Oh,
Toaster.
Milton.
It's a Milton the Toaster joke. You remember Milton the Toaster? It was a commercial.
No.
Okay. It was okay. Since I'm a '60s, '70s child.
Milton the
Okay,
Toaster.
my references are getting terrible. People don't get my references anymore. He was a cartoon, and I forget the what he was. It came out the same time as Charlie the Tuna, and that kind of thing. But it was Milton the Toaster.
Well,
I think it was
Charlie the Tuna, I know, but
yeah, I think that's Al Tuna's cousin.
Bush, get out of here, okay? You're out. He's gone. I think he hung up. Susan, are you there?
I am.
Okay, it got very quiet there for a second.
I know. I was just letting Clarence have fun.
He said it was Al Tuna's.
Yeah, cousin or brother or something.
I drove through Altoona on my way to my retreat. Okay, I got one other medical thing. I've always thought this would be true. I think neckties should be. I can't believe they're still hanging in there somewhat, And here it is.
Well, only because it's the only, sort of colorful thing for some reason a man is allowed to wear.
Well, then we got to change the fashion because researchers in Germany have shown that if you take healthy young men and have them put on a tie and tie a Windsor knot and you do MRI scans on them, the reality is that those ties reduce blood flow to the brain by an average of 7.5%. Now that's, I got to tell you.
Is that what's wrong with men?
No, because even ones that aren't wearing neckties, Susan, exhibit the same kind of behavior. But yeah.
But it could be that crucial.
Yeah, but blood carrying oxygen is what makes the brain work. So any reduction in oxygen to the brain makes men stupider. So all the guys in there, just stop it. I'm just saying. Some researcher suggested that this is essentially socially directed strangulation.
I have to say, when I look back at all I spent a lot of time when I was working with men in suits, right?
Yes.
So I have to admit that when we were just hanging in the office, every single one of those men would open their collar button and loosen their tie.
Yeah.
The jacket would come off, the sleeves would roll up, the tie would be loosened, and the neck would be opened. So, it's clearly uncomfortable enough that if you're going to actually sit down and work, that would be the first thing that you would do.
Well,
I don't know of any working lawyer that sat at his desk or her desk, but this is a male problem, sat at his desk and worked with his tie on or tight.
All I can think of is Senator Orrin Hatch, who always looked like his tie was so tight that he was, in fact, strangling. And he had it on all through the congressional hearings. Maybe that explains why they're so stupid. Anyway,
maybe.
Susan, time for the obituary of the day.
Oh, yeah, great.
This is a little late, but good morning. I can't do it. Vietnam.
Well, we know Robin Williams died.
But that's not Robin Williams because that was based on a real guy.
Oh, okay.
A guy named Adrian Cronauer. And he died at the age of 79. But Adrian Cronauer was the disc jockey whose story provided, Cronauer says, the rough outline for that movie. The two of them did meet. Cronauer finally decided to just relax because it wasn't really a depiction of what happened to him, except that he's the one who did do the Good Morning Vietnam.
Vietnam, right.
And he said he decided eventually to just relax and enjoy. He said, finally, I said to myself, wait a minute. It was never intended to be a biography. It's a piece of entertainment, so sit back, relax, and enjoy it. Because at first he was saying, well, I wouldn't have done, I didn't say that, and he relaxed into it. Anyway, I just wanted to tell my audience, because I didn't know, that Adrian Cronauer was born in Pittsburgh. And he learned his sense of radio by listening to KDKA radio here and Reg Cordick, who was a celebrated morning show host in Pittsburgh. So just so you know that Reg Cordick had something to do with Adrian Cronauer, who ends up being, Robin Williams and blah, 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 blah. He went to the University of Pittsburgh. He, in fact, with other students, formed the Student Broadcasting Association at the University of Pittsburgh, which began the campus radio station, which is still in existence there. And he had a high draft number anyway. He joined the Air Force. Dead at the age of 79. I hate to tell you this, he was a Republican and became a lawyer. A Republican lawyer. Adrian Cronauer.
Yeah.
So, Susan, there's this HBO thing on Robin Williams that's out, a documentary. I recommend it.
You watched it? I haven't had a chance to see it.
Well, give yourself a chance because you'll laugh a lot. I mean, that guy was a genius. And, yeah. But,
well, and what caused his suicide was the same thing that killed my father-in-law in the end, Lewy body disease, and it is a particularly bad kind of dementia.
Right.
Because
and
it really plays games with you.
Yeah, he couldn't take it. He was a tortured soul as it was, and just couldn't do it.
Well, and honestly, his reaction to the diagnosis is common. When my husband was still alive, we were in San Francisco at some meetings, and a fellow psychiatrist asked Eric and me to come over and speak to his father-in-law, who was an esteemed physician himself and had just received this diagnosis. And he questioned us, completely about what happened to Eric's dad, and he was not alive 2 weeks later. And that always haunts me, whether we
You mean he killed it?
Could have been as honest as we were.
He killed himself.
Mm-hmm.
Milton has sent me a picture of Milton the toaster, and Clarence has also sent me a picture of Milton the toaster, who looks like he's toasting Pop-Tarts. So Milton the toaster was actually just selling Pop-Tarts, right? That's what it was. Milton the toaster was selling Pop-Tarts. Although there's even a book, Milton's Ridiculous Riddles. Good God. I missed it. I don't remember that at all. I don't remember it. So, what else? Oh, gosh, Susan, we're pretty much...
yeah, we are.
We're pretty much... So, you're going up to Green Bay today?
I am going up to Green Bay today, and I got a few things to do tomorrow. I'm going to retrieve our mother and bring her back here for
your
little
birthday
weekend birthday celebration, and then return her to Green Bay. And
in time for her birthday celebration.
Well, actually, yeah, and I mean, I get to have my real birthday, with her in Green Bay, and then I run back here for a couple of days and then I've given myself a birthday present of a trip out to Santa Fe to be with my friends there.
Oh, nice. That's good.
Yeah, and then I come right back to go back up to Green Bay with you.
Right. You do. And by the way, yeah, so there'll be a week in August where I won't be here on a Thursday and a Friday because I'll be going to my mom's birthday party. Okay?
96.
96. I always get ahead. I was calling her 96 for the last few months. We all do that, don't we? And so...
No, I stopped at 95. I was telling people she was 95 for like 2 years before she was 95, and now I'm stuck on 95.
Well, now you got to start working on 97.
96.
Yeah, well, okay. All right. She thinks it's all totally ridiculous. She can't believe it. She keeps saying, how much longer could I have? And
I know. Well, that's why when the tree fell on her house, that's why she was upset, because she figured that would be a
good way to go. Yeah.
And
Bang.
And everybody was telling her it wasn't her time, which was aggravating her. And then the fickle finger of God struck her young next-door neighbor dead. Like 3 days later.
Yeah, I know. It was a bad real...
And I did tell her that was, God's way of saying, no, it's really not your time.
Yeah, she's going to be around for a long time.
Yeah.
That's hard on all of her children because we have to keep ourselves alive because we don't want her to have to...
She would not be accepting of any one of us leaving before she did.
I know. So she's single-handedly keeping us alive because some of us are on rickety footing. All right.
Okay, bye.
Bye, Sue. Thank you very much.
Okay.
See you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Talk to you next week.
Okay, bye. All right, you guys, that's it. That's it for me for today. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.